Here we can see this is the pectoralis major muscle and this is the pectoralis minor muscle. This pectoralis major muscle gets nerve supply from two pectoral nerves. This is one pectoral nerve, this is another pectoral nerve. This pectoral nerve comes from this part of the nerve and this pectoral nerve comes from this part of the nerve. For the naming of these two nerves are known as the lateral pectoral nerve and this is the medial pectoral nerve, as they comes from the lateral cord of the brachial plexus and this comes from the medial cord of the brachial plexus. And the cord, in relation to the name of the nerve, cord comes from the spinal cord. You have heard this is the spinal cord, and sometimes you hear there is the root of the spinal nerve, and this is the trunk of the spinal nerve, and here is the ramus of the spinal nerve. But in this section of the brachial plexus, you have also heard the cord. So why this is called the lateral and why this is called the medial? Because this nerve lies lateral to this axillary artery. For this region, this is called the lateral cord, and this nerve lies medial to the axillary artery. For this region, this is known as the medial cord. And why it is called as cord? If we see this thing here, we see that here is the medial pectoral nerve, here is the lateral pectoral nerve. In between there is a connecting nerve that is known as the ansa pectoris. That means it is the handle of the pectoral nerve connecting medial and lateral pectoral nerves. So medial pectoral nerve comes from the medial trunk of the medial cord of the brachial plexus. Lateral pectoral nerve comes from the lateral cord of the brachial plexus. So cords are in relation in the spinal cord. We see that there are so many nerves, ascending, descending, sensory motor, all the nerves constitute the spinal cord. So we expect that this cord, this medial, this lateral cord also have different types of nerves. So for the formation, we look back this area of this lateral cord. This lateral cord has two roots. If we call this the root, that if it has two parts, it has two parts, the superior one and the inferior one. And this superior in this picture, what is superior? That is the anterior division of something, and this is the anterior division of another thing. If we trace back these two, if we call it the lateral cord, these are the divisions. This is the divisions, anterior divisions, and this is also anterior division. These anterior division of this part, which we see that these two comes from this part and this part. This part of the brachial plexus is known as the trunk. We know that in the spinal cord, we see that there are root and there is the trunk. Here also we see there is the root and this is the trunk. So this trunk will be formed by roots. Here is one root, here is another root. These two root united to form this trunk. This is the superior trunk. This superior trunk then divides anterior division and the posterior division. And here we see there is a single nerve comes out from the spinal cord, and this is the C7, and it has a single root, and this part is known as the trunk. So there is no difference between root of and trunk of the middle trunk of the brachial plexus. This again divide into the anterior and posterior. So here the anterior division of the middle cord, here is the anterior division of the superior cord. These two divisions unite to form the lateral cord. From this lateral cord there is a nerve that is known as the pectoral nerve. So if we trace back this lateral pectoral nerve, here the fibers come from Here the fiber comes from the middle trunk. So root of the middle carriage the C7 and comes from the superior trunk. The root of the superior trunk are C5 and the C6. These are the root values of this lateral pectoral nerve. Now in the medial pectoral nerve, both the lateral and medial is connected through the ansa pectoris. If we see this medial pectoral nerve, it comes from the medial cord of the spinal or of brachial plexus. This medial cord is nothing but the continuation of the anterior, only on root. It has the only on continuation, the anterior division of the inferior trunk. So we see that inferior trunk formed by two roots. This is the cervical 8 and the thoracic 1. So if we trace back this medial pectoral nerve, it comes from the anterior division of the inferior trunk. This inferior trunk comes from the cervical 8 and the thoracic 1. These are the root values of this lateral pectoral nerve and the medial